Okay, this particular question can be used it to upload it again. So can you just ask me a question again?
Sure. So with respect to the EC2 instance, we saw an option called choosing preference, right? So it is, yeah. So here we have three different options, 1A, 1B, 1P. So my question was, why did they give us these options when the fact that we will not be able to see which location is free at that time?
Okay, so whose question is this? Ajay's question is it?
Yeah.
Okay, hi Ajay. Okay, so very good question, Ajay. Actually, basically, so for example, your question is, okay, so whenever you're launching instance, so we have a kind of a name here, and then we have different options to choose some different available zones on the different subnet level. Okay, this is a VPC, and we have a three different subnets. It's been created in the three different availability zones. Okay, your question is, so why we have to choose something, some of the data centers which we don't have a control. Correct. Okay. So for
No.
example,
Why we need to choose when we don't know which data center has the availability? We
yeah,
never know which data center's availability, whether it is 1A, 1B, or 1C. So I think it is better to go with no preference so that the data center itself will allocate without any of our choices.
correct,
But
correct, correct, correct. Okay. So I got your question. So now what you're telling is that, okay. So now this is the region. Okay. So this is the availability zone. Okay. This is the availability zone one, and availability zone two, and then the availability zone three. Okay. So what is your question is, okay. So whenever I want to create a VM, okay, either here or here or here. Okay. So this is the easy one. For example, this is the region, and this is the easy one, easy one, and easy two, and easy three. All right. Okay. So your question is like, so why should I choose, any one of the available zones where the AWS itself will be able to automatically assign my instance to some kind of a best available zones. Okay. So which is performing better. That's what your question, right?
yes,
Now what happens is that, this is my application. Okay. Now I'm creating my application in available zone one. Okay. So for example, you can just mention that, so my application is already been allocated in available zone one. Okay, so what happens is that when all the request comes to my virtual machine, okay, like I've installed some web server over here, and all the request, from the globe, okay, this is from the user, okay, this is the user, and that particular user is going to be allocating the, accessing your application from, okay, so this from some of the some internet, okay, so going to be some internet, and your application will be able to serve you better, okay, so your application will going to be serve you better, okay, so everything is working fine, okay, so good for now. So what is the advantage of choosing availability zones, multiple availability zone is that I tell you. So whenever you install your application in AZ1, okay, so now whenever the availability zone one is been having a crisis, or it's going to be, it is going to be crashed due to some kind of a tsunami or some kind of a earthquake or some these kind of problems, this available zone, this data center is completely crashed. So what will be doing?
I'll move to next available zone.
Yeah, so you should not be moved to next available zone, right? So it is just like, so I'm staying in hotel, okay, if this hotel is having some problem, I'll book some other hotel. It's not like that. Okay, so what in real time will be doing is that you'll be having your application running on both availability zone. Okay, for example, this is easy to. Okay, so in general, in the real time, so you'll be deploying your application in both available zones. Okay, so for example, whenever this data center goes down, the request automatically will be routed to the other another available zone. Okay, that is the reason why you have to choose which available zone your first instance is running and second instance running, how to enable the highly available architecture for your application. This is kind of a load balancer. Okay, so we are going to talk about in the future, like what is load balancer. Okay, this is a load balancer. So now, as you can see here, whenever the request is coming from here, okay, I'm going to write it again. Okay, so in a proper way. Now, this is your data center, this is your region, this is your availability zone 1, availability zone 2. Okay, let's consider 2 availability zone only. Or 3 availability zones is there, but we are not using another one. So now this is the load balancer. What is load balancer? It's used to distribute the load. Okay, so here is my user. Okay, the user is coming from here. Okay, now whenever this user is accessing this application, the application will come to here. Let's go to AZ1 first. Let's go to AZ1 first, and then AZ2 second, and then AZ3 is in the top, is in the last. We don't have application. Okay, it's going to AZ1 and AZ2. Okay, so the request, how it's happening is that the first request goes to the first application on the AZ1, and then the next request goes to the second one. So where you hosted the same application. Okay, just for google.com, right? So whenever you're typing google.com, do you think that everybody's request will go to a single server? Just imagine, so billions of trillions of requests. Is it going to the single server where the google.com is hosted?
No.
No, right? It's going to different servers. It's going to different servers where for example, you have IRCTC, or for example, let's consider about your examination, your exam result. So whenever you mention that, see that your university exam is got released, you see that, they be having only one server. Okay, all the people will be accessing that server only, right? What happened to that server then? What happened to the server?
Too much of load. It will not.
Yeah, it get too much of load, right? Okay, so because of too much of load, what's happening? Your result will getting slower, and sometime what happened? It won't be able to handle that load, so it goes for shutdown. Okay, your application is down.
Crash.
Yeah, application is crashed or server is crashed. So in order to avoid that, what we have to do? Okay, you have a result server is there. You have to deploy in AZ1 and AZ2. Okay, the load has to be, first request has to go to AZ1 and second request has to go to AZ2, available zone 2. Okay, so if you have a more capacity, if you're able to spend more, still you can have a one more application has to be deployed in AZ3 as well. Okay, now what happens? So whenever the data center 1, which is AZ1, okay, so if you have some kind of a power failure, or if any kind of failure happen in available zone 1 server, so the request automatically serve the request to the AZ2 and AZ3. Okay, so that is the reason why we need to choose which available zone I want to deploy my application is there. Okay, so for example, if you want to, if you're deploying any one application, and you don't need to specify, the data centers or available zones. Okay, and then if you have any specific available zone to be created, then you should be creating in that particular data centers. And one more thing is that it depends upon the IP address also. Okay, so as you can see, yeah, this is kind of we are going to see deeper in the IP addresses. Okay, so each and every subnets will be having a different IP address ranges. Okay, it's going to be 172.31.16.0 and 31.0.0 and then 32.0. Okay, so each and every network will be having a different IP addresses. Based on that one, your instances will be assigned with IP addresses. That's also another option. Okay, so it's your preferences, right? If your instance or if your virtual machine want that specific IP address range, then you have to create your instances on specific availability zone and then the specific subnet. Okay, so it's a really interesting question, right? Yeah, so now you know how and why these different data centers has been put up in some different places. Otherwise, right, otherwise what AWS will do, AWS can pick up some big data centers, big area, some kind of a 10 acres of area. You can put all the servers in a single place, right? So what's the disadvantage of doing that one?
If it goes down, everything is gone.
Yeah, if that particular data center is gone, everything is gone. So that is the reason why AWS has been provisioned data centers across different places. Okay, so to have a highly available infrastructure. Okay, so it's a good question. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. I have one question.
Yeah.
So again, coming back to virtualization, you mentioned that there are two types, type 1 and type 2.
Yeah.
So I understood the difference, but just want to understand, as I mentioned that I want to create a virtual machine in my laptop, in my physical machine. So I will be using the type 2 thing, right?
Yes, correct.
type 2 virtualization, hypervisor, sorry.
Yeah.
So in our case, if I'm using the type 2 hypervisor, AWS will be acting as a hypervisor, for
Yes.
example.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct? Okay, that's what my doubt was. And just one, like, not exactly doubt. Just
No,
wanted to
AWS is
get
not. So just confirm. AWS is not act as a hypervisor. Okay, AWS is the console. Okay, AWS is the AWS is service. Okay, so AWS is also having a storage service and IAM, identity access management services. Just different services are there. Okay, so for example, right? So I'm going to show you one interesting thing here. Okay, so this is the OS, right? This operating system. Okay, we have created each instance, and which hypervisor is been using. Okay, let's say for example, some of the name of the hypervisors. Okay, you can see here, VMware ESXi is hypervisor and Hyper-V. Okay, Zen kernel. Okay, Zen is the other hypervisor. These are all the hypervisor softwares are there. These are all the type 1 hypervisors. These are all the hypervisor softwares. If you want to see which hypervisor this particular OS is using, okay, can we see? Let's see. So which hypervisor this particular virtual machine is using. Okay, in order to see that one, we need to see that command called DMI decode. Okay, so this command is not working. We need to install this package. Okay, I'm going to install it. Okay, I'm going to install one package. It's kind of a command I'm going to install. That's kind of a utility that is used to show me which hypervisor and which hardware component this particular virtual machine is using. Okay, this guy just like installing some kind of a packages, right? So now if you can go back and DMI decode command, it will give me the entire history of the hypervisor and hardware and all these things. Okay, as you can see here, these are the bigger information, right? So this is the BIOS information. Okay, this is the what BIOS this particular machine is using, and this is the system information, and manufacturer is EC2, and then product name is T2.micro, and all this kind of product is using. Okay, so the base board is kind of motherboard information. Product name is not specified. All these things is not specified. Okay, so the chassis information and manufacturer is Amazon. So everything is been manufactured by Amazon. Okay, the processor information is kind of a Xeon processor. Okay, the family is Xeon processor. Okay, what is Xeon? Okay, let's say for example Xeon processor, Xeon, processor. Okay, this is the Xenon processor. Okay, and then used by this particular hardware. Now let's go back and see further again. Okay, let's see. We also see that what is the so the cache information, all these things is being installed. Okay, cache information. Okay, so physical memory array, and which RAM is being using is kind of a physical memory, and all these things we'll be able to see. Okay, I think I'll be able to see something called Zen. I should be able to see somewhere here on the okay, let me just check. Hypervisor is going to be XCN. XCN. Okay, I think I'm not able to find that one. So probably some of the other machines, you'll be able to see that which hypervisor itself is being using. Okay, but I'm not able to see that one proper information. But with this command, you'll be able to see that what are the hardware types is using. Okay, so because it has been using the higher hardware types, there is no OS information is there because it's been used with a direct type 1 hypervisor. Okay, the hypervisor has already been installed. Let's just type with hypervisor something is there. Okay, hypervisor is also not mentioned. Probably I'll try to get some other some other command to check with this one. Okay, so this is how you'll be mentioned. You'll be seeing that which hardware your this particular OS is being installed. Okay, so some of the other applications, some of the other machines, you can see that Zen kernel. Okay, these are all the This is the Zen kernel, and will be installed as a hypervisor. So any other questions? Or did you get the answer for this question? What I mentioned?
So I'm a little bit still confused, like regarding the virtual machines on laptop. So basically, we are using AWS, and as you mentioned in Amazon data centers, the servers are there,
Mm-hmm.
and on that server, the hypervisor is already installed,
Yeah.
and on the hardware
Yeah.
of the servers
Yes.
in the data centers, the hypervisor is already installed, and that's what we are virtually using to create the EC2 instances from AWS.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Like we don't have to manually install the hypervisor in our
No,
laptop
no, no. You don't need to manually install it.
because
Yes. Go ahead with the
yeah,
question. Complete
because
the
we are
question.
using AWS. It's acting like as a mediator to communicate between our physical machine and the hypervisor.
Exactly. So that's the exact thing. You have to be noting it out. Okay. So for example, if you what is type 2 hypervisor means, this is your laptop. Okay. Let's say for example, this is your laptop or your desktop. Okay. You already
Mm-hmm.
installed one OS or Windows or anything. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you install some virtual box, have you tried with virtual box?
No, not yet.
Okay. So you just download the virtual box and install in your laptop. So VirtualBox is
Mm-hmm.
just a software. Okay. So if you install that VirtualBox in your laptop, this VirtualBox is called as a hypervisor. It's very simple actually. So this VirtualBox is called as a hypervisor. So because you're actually using Mac or you're using Windows, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how many using this VirtualBox, you'll be creating some kind of a small OSs here. So in the meeting, right? Anybody tried to create a VirtualBox in your laptop? Out of you guys?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Okay, Ram. Ram Shankar had already been created some kind of virtual machines in his laptop using the hypervisor, which is called a virtual box, right? So this is how we'll be
Yes, the
doing.
Hyper-V for Windows.
Sorry?
I use the Hyper-V for Windows.
Oh yeah, Hyper-V, right? That name is called as a Hyper-V. Okay, Hyper-V. Okay, as you can see here, the hypervisor names. You can also see that Hyper-V. Hyper-V is the name, right? You can install this in your laptop directly, and then you can create a virtual machine. That is depends upon your how much hard disk, how much capacity you have in your laptop. You can create that much of virtual machines. You understand? But in terms of a
Yes, yes,
virtual machine in a AWS way, you don't need to install any kind of hypervisor. You just go and use it. Okay, it's a readily available services.
yeah, got it.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, so it's a good interactive session. And any other questions on the hypervisor, on cloud computing, on data centers or servers or anything? If you don't understand this particular session and the going forward, the session will be very very advanced ones, right? So you're going to learn very deep in the sessions. Okay, any other questions?
No problem.
Yeah, so it's just not exactly question, but just wanted to ask, like
Yes, yes,
the
yes, go ahead.
PDF that you shared earlier with us,
PPT.
no, the PDF file
Yeah.
in which the all the contents are mentioned what we will be studying
Yeah.
for this course. So will we be following that particular PDF only,
Yeah,
or
so we have
on
different
step by
from
step?
PDF. Okay, so for example, cloud computing, if you can see, okay, cloud computing, we have various different PDF and different study materials are there. Okay, so if you can see the cloud computing itself, I explained the what is cloud computing and what are the different types and all these things are there. So probably in the next class, I'll go through all this document to understand what is cloud computing. This is all theory part, right? This is the theory part. I don't want to read out
Mhm.
from the PDF. Okay, probably I already shared you to this particular drive link to you, and I'm going to share it to you. Some of you guys who's not shared your email IDs, and you can go and see read it out, and then you can get to understand. This is for your interview point of view. It will be very helpful for you.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so if you don't have any other questions, just let's wind up. Let's see you again in the next class tomorrow on 8:30. And any other guys, Lydia and Mansi and Ajay.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you have any questions or you understand, or I may be a little faster or slower, or what is your opinion and what is your
Slowly understanding. So
okay, yeah.
maybe later we'll have questions. But today, since it's the first class,
Yeah, so
we'll,
please feel yeah, this is good. Please feel free to connect me directly if you have any other
yeah,
questions on any other technologies or cloud computing. Okay, we are going forward. We'll be so going a little bit marching towards the cloud computing internally. Okay, we are going to do a lot of work on Terraform and all this stuff. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
fine. Yeah,
And sir, I have a request, not a question.
yeah.
So, since we are in the early stage, what if we learn Linux as well parallelly so that it will be helpful for us?
Yes, yes, yes. I'll be teaching the Linux as well. Okay, just like this one. Okay, so
Mhm.
whenever today you already learned one command that's called DMA decode, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just like this, whenever I'm just whenever we are just starting with some of the topics, you also will be learning some of the Linux commands as well. Okay, so initially I'll be teaching you some of the Linux topic itself directly.
Okay.
There are different things will be coming together, like Terraform and Linux and Git repositories. All everything will be coming in on and off in between. Okay, so we are going to show you like what are the different topics will be having in the next sessions.
Okay. And including the network concepts, right?
Yes, yes,
Networking.
yes. Networking concepts already been so see here, this is the networking settings. So whenever the networking concept is coming, I'll be covering complete networking concept for you.
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We did, those things are covered in the initial stage only because as day progresses, then it will be easy for us
Yes,
to
yes, yes. So
understand.
we'll be covering one services every day. Okay,
Okay.
so tomorrow we'll be covering like IAM service, and so because we know that how to take you to the level where you're understanding everything. Okay, so there is a stages, and we'll be covering all the stages step by step. Okay,
Okay, sir. Thank you for the session. Good.
okay. Thank you so much for your time, and see you again tomorrow.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.